And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Low pressure in the Gulf of Alaska creating quite an area of IFR here from along the North Gulf Coast back toward Kodiak Island, but staying mostly offshore in these areas. Interior, VFR. Arctic coast, a weak disturbance there producing a little bit of IFR, again, mostly off the coastline. And some marginal VFR covering much of the Panhandle, and some VFR here for the central Aleutians, otherwise marginal VFR out west of the Bering Sea. And then for the afternoon Monday, marginal VFR, again, not much change out here, covering portions of the Bering Sea with the best conditions here from Unalaska Island, Nikolsky, westward to Adak, and then back into the marginal VFR farther to the west. And so a weak disturbance up here producing some IFR eastern North Slope and Arctic coast. Look for some IFR offshore areas of Bristol Bay. And now marginal VFR here across the Gulf of Alaska, in across all of the southeast coast, and back to about Yakutat and probably Cape St. Elias as well. And then for the Tuesday morning time, good VFR here over the interior. Marginal VFR, Yakutat on down the southeast coast into Dixon Entrance. Southwest Kodiak Island or the west side there in the Shelikof Strait could see some marginal VFR. Marginal VFR here into the Yukon Delta, Bristol Bay, Alaska Peninsula. And then IFR with that big storm now and the warm front pushing eastward here into the northwest and northern central Bering Sea. Marginal VFR, Arctic coast areas of the North Slope. And for the afternoon, IFR here pushing eastward, making landfall along the Yukon Delta coast as that storm system moves eastward there. And up to the Seward Peninsula through the Bering Strait, maybe along the northwest coast, Kivalina up to Cape Lisburne. Otherwise, southern Bering Sea, Aleutians, marginal VFR, right into Bristol Bay up toward Iliamna Lake actually. VFR hopefully for Kodiak in the afternoon. VFR, all of interior Alaska, North Slope right on down to the North Gulf Coast, and the southeast coast now back into VFR. Passes tomorrow, Anatuvik and Adigan, both occasionally marginal. And Lake Clark and Merrill, though, VFR, looking good for rainy and windy. Eastern Alaska Range, Isabel and Tasta, both VFR in the forecast. Tanita, same thing, VFR. Portage, early on could have some marginal VFR, otherwise becoming VFR later in the morning through the afternoon. Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. Freezing levels, 2,000 feet here over the central interior, and then down over the southern Panhandle. Still some pretty chilly air here over the Bering Sea, but southerly flow and southwest flow pushing much warmer air into the far western Bering Sea areas. And with that will be some pretty good icing of the moderate rime variety here, pushing into the western Aleutians to about Kiska Island. Otherwise, icing free over the central and eastern Bering Sea. Another area of possible significant icing here across all of the southeast coast up to Yakutat. And from there, taking a look at the jet stream and west-southwest flow, 120 knots blowing right across the central Panhandle. Upper level low way up there at 33,000 feet over Prince William Sound, giving northerly flow at about 65 knots. Along the west coast there, increasing here over the central Aleutians up to about 100 knots there. And for 9,000 feet, here's a stronger winds way out to the west associated with that next storm coming in. But to the east of that, high pressure here over the Bering Sea. Not too bad, north to northeast winds 30 to 40 knots here coming down across the Pribilofs to about Atka Island and Adak. Light over the interior, light for Kodiak Island. And here for the Panhandle, southwest winds up to 50 knots. And at 3,000 feet, southwest winds up to 40 knots, turn easterly here along the North Gulf Coast at about the same speed. Light over the interior, all the way up to the Arctic Ocean. Bering Sea, light winds, but much stronger here with that system coming in to the far western areas. And turbulence-wise, look for increasing moderate turbulence here from about Shimei and Attu back to the Komodorskis, light to isolated moderate turbulence into about Amchitka Island. Otherwise, not too bad for the remainder of the Bering Sea. Mainland Alaska, then moderate turbulence, pretty possible here, Cape St. Elias area, or actually near Yakutat, on down along the central and north coast, part of the inside waters of the Panhandle.